Hi, this is Karen from the Mindful Earthkeeper, and today I wanted to talk to you about how do we create frameworks and why would we do it for ourselves. And what I wanted to do today is talk a little bit about my inspiration for creating the Song of Life framework. And it really probably started way back when I read this first in 2004, probably, although it was published in 2002. The Mist-Filled Path was the first time I'd really ever read anyone talking about something they called the Oran Mor or the Great Song. If you want to learn more about it, check out chapter 7 in the Mist-Filled Path. I just love his language about how he talks about the Oran Mor. But let me read a few things from that chapter just to give you a sense of how it's presented in this book. The Celts of old believed that the world was upheld and sustained by a single all-embracing melody, Oran Mor they called it, the great music, and all creation was part of it. Perhaps this is why Celtic music possesses the power to move us in unexpected ways. It touches that place deep in our hearts where legends still live, and we hear again the strains of the ancient song. Um, and that's just the beginning of a quote that actually wasn't Frank MacEowen, that was from Stephen Lawhead. But he does a lot of different quotes in this chapter, including from Black Elk, from the Lakota tradition. And he goes on to talk about how this myth, the Oran Mor, takes place and his experience of the Oran Mor. One of the things that I was really influenced by this, I guess, is where he talks about some things about all things emanate from the great song of power that is spinning vibrantly through all of life, from the microcosmic level of electrons, atoms, and cells to the giant swath of whole galaxies, to the nautilus shell and hurricanes in between. To align oneself with the flow of this great music is to foster a life of wholeness, of healing, and holism. It is a life of movement blended with stillness. It is a process of oscillation, outward, inward, outward, inward, our breath, our seasonal flow of activity. The great song is always present in all things and can be accessed at any time as a means of healing and realignment with the life-affirming powers that have created life. And for me, this resonated very strongly, not only from sort of a spiritual, philosophical point of view, but also from the work I was doing at the time that I was reading this book. I had just started working on sustainability. And over the years, I've noticed that sustainability is one of the best ways I think of to align with the Song of Life in a practical way. I think of the Song of Life as not only this melodic verse, this idea of a song, but really the vast interweaving and the rhythms and vibrations of life and how everything coheres together as an interconnected whole. And sustainability is all about finding the sort of system of systems and fine-tuning it so that health and healing keep arising rather than being destroyed. I tend to look at the world right now with this kind of giant mountain, so to speak, of human destruction that is going across the planet. And it is our challenge to not only get over that mountain, but really to drop that mountain down so that there no longer is this mountain of human destruction that could create dystopic futures. And I think aligning with the Song of Life is all about that. I think there's a sort of mystical aspect of working with the Song of Life as well as this very practical one. And that's what I'm trying to combine together in the framework that I want to be exploring with you this year in the Mindful Earthkeeper, as well as with the different classes and retreats that we offer this year. The first class that I'll be teaching is about something that I learned, despite myself in a way. I started to encounter teachers over the course of the last 10 to 15 years who started teaching me about vibe. Up until then, probably my experience of working with vibe was working with the marketing for many different companies and how the company wanted to present itself. and the challenge that could exist between the reality of what a company was like on the inside and the vibe they were trying to present on the outside. This could also be something you could see as greenwashing, where people wanting to look like they're a green company when they're really not. And so this is the kind of challenge that I was encountering. But as I started to work with personal transformation teachers, they started to talk about individual vibe. And that's why I started to learn how to work with the individual vibe. And combining that with everything that I was doing with leaders in different organizations, I've come up with my own ideas about what it means to work the Song of Life. And part of the reason I'm doing that, part of the reason I'm creating a framework, is that after I read The Mist-Filled Path, I kept looking for books about how do you align with the great Song of Life, and I couldn't find any. And I would love, if any of you knew of some, I would love to read them. But I couldn't find what I was looking for. And I've read this from a couple different authors who have said that sometimes you have to create the book that you want to read, but nobody has written yet. And that's kind of what I feel like I'm doing this year in trying to write about the great song. Eventually, I want to do a book of how to work with this framework. But it might take me a year, it might take me longer than that to do that. And I wanted to share this journey with you on Mindful Earthkeeper and get your feedback on it. Hear any experiences you might have with aligning with the great song of life. If you've ever worked with the Oran Mor in any kind of specific way, I would love to hear about that, because I really can't find anything other than, I guess, Frank MacEowen's book, The Mist-Filled Path, and a few scant references on the internet to it. So I'm very much just sharing my journey with you this year. I do hope, if you're interested in this subject of particularly the Celtic Oran Mor and Celtic ways of looking at life, that you consider looking at this book. He's got a couple other books too, so he's fun if you want to look at some of the other books. Next month, I'm probably going to be talking about a framework of sustainability that I feel works with the Song of Life. It's going to be a little different than this mystical book, and I have a different feel to it. But I hope that you've enjoyed this. I'm going to try to do this every month so that you can understand the framework that I'm trying to create, where it comes from, and then as you do work with sustainability, if you are someone who's working in the field of sustainability, you've probably encountered a lot of different frameworks. You might need to be developing your own, because there are no maps, no roadmaps for some of the things we need to do. And you may be someone who's going to be creating a framework. So I want to suggest that you find your inspirations, you find what's missing in the world, and you start to think about how can you create a framework for that, and then test it and work with it. And so much love to you all who are working in the world of sustainability or mindfulness in any way, and being a mindful earthkeeper. Thanks for being part of my community. Whether you're someone who follows me on my Facebook Mindful Earthkeeper Facebook page, or you're on Instagram, or in the email list or the blog, thank you for listening to us, and also working with us in the classes. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.